Hey everyone, my name is Wes, and welcome back to Terror Talk, where I discuss creepy clips online. Just to set up clear expectations, this is a commentary channel on scary stories and weird stuff. So, if commentaries are a thing, you're in the right place. The original horror music at the end of my videos was composed by me. Now, let's get into it and have some fun.
My name's Ariel, and I live in Georgia, not too far from the Alabama border. Several summers ago, I made the drive out to this small town in Alabama for a 4th of July cookout my college friend Isabel was throwing. One of those backyard setups with paper plates, bootleg fireworks, and way too much food. It was one of the better nights I'd had in a while. Good people, good energy, kids running around with sparklers, that kind of thing. I didn't leave until a little after 10, which, looking back, was probably my first mistake. That part of the state gets real quiet once the sun goes down. The drive home was going to take a little over 2 hours. Most of the route was back roads, long, empty stretches of dark two-lane roads with nothing but thick tree lines on either side. Every now and then, I'd pass an old farmhouse or a tiny church with a gravel lot, but for the most part, it was just darkness and more darkness. I had music playing low, and I was still in a good mood from the party, but I won't lie, there was something about driving through places like that at night that gets under my skin.
Yeah, that is kind of creepy, isn't it, to drive through a dark road like that with trees on either side of you, and it's just kind of quiet, dark, and unsettling. Now, I'm not one to go on many road trips. I'm just not really a road trip kind of person, but let me know in the comments below if you have ever been on a road trip like that and something really creepy happened. Let me know in the comments below because I love hearing other people's scary stories and experiences.
Even when there's no real reason to be afraid. I've always been somewhat scared of the dark, so I bet that plays into it a little too. About 30 minutes in, I noticed a pair of headlights in my rearview mirror. At first, I didn't think much of it. I figured someone else had just hopped onto the same back road. But the longer it stayed there, the more I started to pay attention. It was a gray Nissan Altima, nothing unusual, except the bottom half of the car looked like it had been driving through mud. I could see it clearly anytime we passed one of those overhead lights at a small crossing. Even still, that wasn't that weird on its own. But after a while, I realized no matter how much I sped up or slowed down, that car matched me exactly. At first, I thought it might have been just a coincidence, so I sped up a little, maybe 5, 10 miles an hour over what I was doing before. But the Altima did the same, so I instead tapped my brakes and let myself drift well below the limit. Again, same results. The distance between us never changed. Now keep in mind, on roads like that, people pass each other all the time. It's not even illegal in most spots. I moved slightly to the right a couple times to make it obvious that I was giving the space they needed if they want to go around. But they didn't. They just stayed exactly where they were, about 6 or 7 car lengths back. That's when I decided to test them. There was a random left turn coming up. It was what looked like a little residential road with maybe 4 houses scattered on either side. I took the turn with no hesitation. I wanted to get as far away from that car as possible. But about 10 seconds later, the car actually turned off and made the same left turn.
Yeah, I feel like when things like this happen in real life, it feels a lot like how a horror movie begins. Like you're just driving along a really dark, quiet road, and this car comes up behind you. And no matter what you do, how slow you go, it's like the car is taunting him. And I don't know, I just think that is so creepy to be, tailed and stalked like this by someone basically out in the middle of nowhere. And if this kind of thing happened to me, I would be seriously freaking out, wouldn't you? Because it would seriously start to freak me out if anything like that happened to me. Like I've had assholes on the road kind of follow me to, you know, where I work and stuff like that, or just that happened one time and it really pissed me off more than freaked me out. It did freak me out a little bit, but having it having something like that happen out in the middle of nowhere, that would be terrifying. I'm not going to lie, that would be terrifying.
In the middle of nowhere. There was about a 0% chance they belonged on that road. At that point, I knew for a fact they were following me. It wasn't even up for debate anymore. I got this really sick feeling in my gut, like I was in genuine danger. For all I knew, I probably was. By then, my heart was beating through my chest, the same way it would if someone had a gun to my head. I don't know why. That's the easiest analogy I can think of. I just felt so helpless out there in the middle of nowhere. I had no idea what that person wanted or why they were locked onto me, but none of the reasons I could think of did anything but terrify me. I just wanted to get somewhere safe and somewhere public, with lights and people. As if on cue, I heard that god awful chime that indicates a near empty gas tank. I swear to God, I've never felt so powerless. My car's old. It's a 2012 Corolla that's been through more than its fair share of problems. Sometimes the gas light gives me 20 miles. Sometimes I'm lucky to get 10. And out there, in that part of the state, there's not exactly a gas station on every corner. I pulled out my phone and looked up the nearest 24-hour spot. It was over 8 miles away. I didn't know if I'd make it, but I didn't have a choice. I wasn't about to pull over, not with that car still tailing me. I thought about calling the police, but I felt like it would have been a waste of time so far out in the middle of nothingness. Cops out there take years to arrive anywhere, and there was part of me that felt like calling the police would make the danger more real. I know how irrational that sounds, and I feel pretty embarrassed even writing that down, but I'm just trying to be as honest as possible about how I felt. The gas needle dropped to empty a couple minutes later, not just low, empty. I tried to stay calm, but I could feel myself starting to spiral. Every little sound in the car felt louder. The road felt longer. I felt stupid for being so powerless, but I didn't know what to do to change that. I knew I wasn't going to make it to the gas station. Scenarios started flashing through my head about what would happen once my car ran out of gas.
Yeah, like, holy crap. How would you react in this situation? Because if you're trying to get to a gas station that's 8 miles away and it runs on empty, like, this is why you always give a little bit of extra. You give it 1 or 2 ticks, especially if you're taking a road trip. Because when things like this happen, it's terrifying. And you don't think that, anything's gonna ever happen to you like this, but you just never know. There's a lot of sickos out there. And this is just like one of the most horrifying scenarios, in my opinion, that you can, encounter, just having being stalked and followed out in the middle of nowhere and then completely running out of gas. That would be absolutely terrifying.
But by some miracle, I finally spotted the glow of the gas station sign up ahead. I almost cried, to be completely honest with you. I took the turn hard and pulled into the lot in one quick motion to give myself some time to get out of the car and book it inside. And that's exactly what I did. I jumped out and ran inside, barely shutting my car door behind me. From inside, I could see the Ultima through the window. It slowed to a stop at the edge of the lot and sat there for maybe 10 seconds with the engine still running. No one got out, though. It was almost like whoever was inside was debating whether to continue pursuing me or not. Then, out of nowhere, it peeled off, fast, disappeared back down the road we had come from. I told the gas station guy what happened, and he offered to call the police for me. Even after talking to the police, I still felt very unsettled. I know it's not the scariest thing to have happened to someone, but there's no explanation for what happened to me that doesn't involve whoever was driving that car having sinister intentions. That feeling of pure fear, I hope I never have to experience that ever again. I made it home and told myself I'd never drive along rural back roads in the middle of the night ever again. The story doesn't end there, though. A few weeks later, something happened that made my stomach drop all over again. I was sitting at home watching the news one evening, just background noise really, when a segment came on about 2 men suspected of armed robbery, attempted murder, and a bunch of other things in rural Alabama. They showed a blurry still from a security camera, then mentioned that authorities believed he had fled in a stolen gray Nissan Altima, last seen headed east. When I heard that, I just froze up. That's who had been following me. I knew it in my gut. There was no way to prove it was the same person who followed me that night, but I'm telling you, I felt it. The timing lined up, the location lined up, and the description of the car was basically identical. I immediately told my story to the police, and that's when it really all hit me. My own stupidity could have prevented 2 extremely dangerous men from being caught. I will never forgive myself for not calling the police sooner, and it's something I actually think about pretty often. I never got an update from the police, and I never heard anything about the incident on the news. If anything ever changes, I'll send an update.
Yeah, what a creepy thing to go through, huh? And he said it's definitely not one of the most scary things that can happen to you, but I don't know, just kind of having some creeper and you have no idea how mentally stable they are follow you out in the middle of nowhere like that, and then, have you all follow you all the way to the gas station, then just linger there for a little bit, deciding if they want to pursue that further. Like, that is terrifying. But what do you think that person wanted? Do you think they just wanted to rob them or do worse? Let me know in the comments below. But it's kind of crazy that the news came on a few weeks later about the same car and everything like that. So, yeah, just hopefully that person who was driving the Altima is caught eventually, because clearly they're sick and unstable and don't belong in society. But either way, I thought this was a very creepy story, and I actually like these 4th of July horror stories. They're really cool. But I hope you enjoyed my commentary also, and the music, and I will see you in the next video.